We're still at the mercy of this continuous cold. We're still getting minus temperatures. Through day, it's nice and sunny. But don't let that deceive you. If you're going to sow seeds at this time of year, where possible, sow the seeds, then take them indoors to keep them warm. Otherwise, it can take 3 times as long for them seeds to germinate. And another major problem with that, you'll find that your seeds are sitting in damp compost for way too long, and that could just cause the seeds to rot. So you can sow them outside just to avoid any mess indoors, and then take them inside and wait for them to germinate, and you'll stand a lot better chance between January and February. But we're not doing vegetables today. We've got quite a lot on go at the moment, and we've got quite a lot indoors, and obviously there's only certain things that you can sow at this time of year to get any degree of success. So what I'm looking at today is flowers for spring, because apart from getting harvest or all these fresh homegrown vegetables, there's nothing better than having a nice display of colour all through spring and summer, and with certain flowers into autumn. But I always find with flowers, especially things like pansies, they take quite a while to germinate and even longer to grow. So you're better off starting them early, popping them indoors. That's what we're doing today. And we're doing a few different varieties as well. And we're going to grow them in these. These are just cheap little plastic tubs. You can get them from pound shop, you can get them from Wilco's. All you need to do is drill a few holes in bottom so it's got good drainage. And then you can multi-sow seeds into these little containers to prick out at a later date, and then move them on into their own little cells to grow on. Which is what we was doing last year, and we did it with pansies and violas. And these are last year's plants, and you can see they're trying to flower again. And that's because things like pansies and violas are what they call biennials, which means basically they'll not only flower twice in a year, being late spring and autumn, but the plants can also survive frosts and live up to 2 years. So what we're going to do is fill these tubs with some compost, and then we're going to wet the compost as well, because that's going to help with germination. Plus, if you water them afterwards, you're going to splash these tiny little seeds all over the place. And we're going to try and keep them direct sown and evenly spaced out all the way across these tubs, so it'll make it easier later on to prick out these little seedlings. I'll get these filled. Also, when you're growing flowers that are tiny little seeds, you're better off sieving your compost to get rid of any big lumps, because that's just going to hinder the germination process. And doing it like this in these little tubs is also a really good space saver. So we're just going to fill them, and then we're just going to lightly press that compost down. We just want to create a nice even bed. So you've got something like that, and the compost is a couple of centimetres below surface, because don't forget we've got to cover these seeds as well. And pansy seeds especially prefer germinating in darkness, so you could also put them inside a black bag to make sure no light gets to these seeds, and you'll get a better rate of germination like that. And now we'll moisten that compost. So I'm going to give it a quick water, let it settle down, then water it again. We want to make sure there's plenty of moisture inside here, because if it completely dries out while you're trying to germinate these flower seeds, the chances are those seeds won't germinate. So now I'm going to fill these other 3 tubs, and then we'll get down to sowing seeds. If you haven't got any of these tubs already, and you'd rather not buy any, use margarine tubs. They're deeper, so you can get more compost in, which means your plants can grow for a little bit longer. And of course, with a few holes drilled in bottom, you've got a free container. I've got a few different varieties that I'm going to start off today, so we'll go through them as we sow the seeds. I'll also bring camera in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So we'll start off with some pansies. And these are called Swiss Giant mixed. So they're bigger than your average pansy once they reach maturity. And what we're going to do is just broadcast these seeds, trying to space them out as best we can. And I'm going to put what's left of these seeds in this tray, because first off, they're last year's seeds, and secondly, in the event that some seeds don't germinate, we want to try and guarantee that we get some, because as I said before, they do take a long time to grow. And you can see we've got quite a lot of seeds in that area, but they are slightly spaced out at the same time. And as you sow these seeds into different containers, make sure you label each one so you know exactly what's what. This next one's called a blue bedder. And these plants grow really nice blue flowers, but also the stems multiply, so you can end up with a nice big bunch in one little area. So, same as before, just broadcast some seeds. And what we'll do with these is we'll broadcast them in these little pots to grow on, and in about 3 weeks we'll do another set so we can keep flowers going all the way through spring and summer and into autumn. So using the multi-sowing technique with your flowers into small containers like this is a really good space saver. And you can see there's quite a few seeds again on there, but there is a bit of spacing in between also. Also, when you get your packs of seeds, always check the info on the back. And it's not to say they have to be planted at a certain time of year, because if you're starting them indoors, that doesn't matter. But sunflower seeds don't like to be covered up with compost, and some do. So just keep your eye out for that. And these next ones that we're doing are marigolds. And they're a French marigold called Orange Boy. And when you get your little packets like this, just give them a little flick and a shake, because if they're very tiny seeds, they could be stuck across top of this seam, and then when you tear it off, you're going to lose half of them. And a lot of flower packs don't have many seeds in to start with, so we can't afford to be losing any. And I'm sure everybody's seen marigold seeds before. They're quite big seeds, no problem seeing them whatsoever. And again, we're just going to randomly space these out. Try not to overlap them. So we'll drop them on, and then we'll just move them around. Something like that. And that's the old pack gone. So you can see what I mean. So I'm just going to move these around to get a more even spacing. Something like that's going to be perfectly fine. And then the last ones I'm going to do for today anyway are dahlias. And they're called Redskin. So let's get some of these on as well. And exactly the same as before. Just direct sowing. Trying to space them out the best we can. And I think that will do. So as I said before, don't forget to put your labels in. And I'm going to be using these wooden sticks. And that's all them set up. And if you want to, you can give them a light press down just to make sure they've got good contact with that compost. But be careful that you don't pick up any seeds doing that. And once germinated, we want all these seeds to break that surface as soon as possible, get some light and start growing. So we're going to very lightly cover these seeds using this colander. Because this way they're getting a light dusting and they're not going to be buried too deep, which we don't want. So just enough to see that those seeds have disappeared. So now that's all been done, and we've also given each tray another light water because we need to retain moisture for these seeds to work. And as we said earlier, if you haven't got those plastic tubs, you can use old margarine tubs. If you eat a lot of fruit, these are brilliant. And that's a grape carton, and your holes are already pre-made. You've also got a lot of depth, so plants will stay in here, again, a lot longer. And when it comes to retaining moisture without having to keep constantly checking on these plants, you can use a propagator and just pop that on top. And that'll do the job for you. But again, if you don't want to go to Wilko's and start buying propagators, there is a more cost-effective way that you can do that, that works just as well, if not better. And that's cling film. You get a lot of cling film on a very cheap roll. So, just cover the entire tray. And your compost is below the top of this container. So that cling film is not going to touch the soil and cause any problems. Then we'll just trim it off. And that's 4 different varieties of flowers growing in a very small area, waiting to germinate, ready for that spring and summer display. So now I'm going to take these indoors, put them in a warmish place. They don't need to be too warm. Room temperature is going to be fine. So you don't need to put those on an heat mat. And every couple of days, just check the moisture levels. With this cling film on top, they should be alright for a few days yet. But always have a check. As I said, you don't want them to dry out. And as soon as these seeds break the surface of this compost, you need to take this cling film off. And then you need to bottom water. Because if you don't bottom water, you're going to have problems with mould on top of that compost. And also, these flower seedlings are so tiny that just a light blast could flatten them down, and then they won't get back up and they'll just die. And that's the reason we're storing all those little trays into this big one that's got no holes in the bottom. So when that time does come, we can just add a couple of centimetres of water to the bottom of this tray, and everything will get all the water it needs, all at the same time. If you want to see how these flowers turn out, and also see what other flower seeds we're going to be sowing between now and spring, then please hit that subscribe button and press that notifications bell. Thank you very much for watching this video and being part of this channel. I really appreciate it. See you next time.